down video. This one's gonna be a little bit quicker than most because I have school in like 30 minutes, and instead of like actually being productive, I'm doing this. Now, we're gonna be talking about top 5 monotype teams in this gen, and what I think that are the top 5, obviously, and why they are. I didn't do move sets for any of these Pokemon because I am lazy and I did not feel like doing it. If you disagree with me, well then fuck you. Uh, Anyways, coming in at number 5, we have the ground type. The ground type has always been a pretty top monotype thing, especially offensive. Now, here's the thing with monotype. Generally, um, more like generally like the typing rankings don't really change. It's based off two things: natural resistances, and the Pokemon you get access to. So, like something like say Steel, which has a lot of resistances, is generally better than something like Bug, which doesn't. But anyway, but you can also run a lot of different ones, so it's not that bad. But anyways, we're gonna be talking about ground now because ground type has a lot of access to a lot of things. Tinglu is a great wall in this gen, and you can run it with ground, which is really nice. You have access to Garchomp, which is obviously a really good Pokemon. It's been a top Pokemon for like years now. You have Iron Treads and Great Tusk, both of which are monsters offensively, both of which have massive attack stats, and Iron Treads has really high speed stat too. Um, and it can outspeed a lot of mons, especially with Choice Scarf. Sandy Shocks is a bit of an underrated Pokemon. It has a decently high special attack. Its stats are average, but I mean, it is an electric ground type, which is kind of nice because you get to have like a stab counter to your water types that you might be facing, and you also have Storm Drain, Gastrodon, which is another counter to water types. Now something that I've noticed though is that Monotype in this gen especially is going to be very interesting because of the access to terrestrialization, which I think is going to really change the meta because you essentially get access to a free coverage typing that you didn't originally have access to, which I think is really good. Anyways, next up, we're going to be talking about the water type. The water type, you are not allowed to use Palafin in this, so it's not the greatest, but you still have access to a lot of assets you can use. Iron Bundle is actually allowed, which is really nice. You can run Freeze Dry plus Hydro Pump, which is an unresisted stab combo. You can run Dondozo, who has Unaware, so it's a pretty nice wall. Its defensive stats are really high. It's really good. You can run, obviously, Regenerator Toxapex, which is been like a ridiculously good Pokemon. Yeah, with 152 defense, 142 special defense, really good. You obviously have your Storm Drain Gastrodon. You have Rotom Wash with Levitate, which is a really good pivot, and is also a really nice offensive Pokemon. And you have Veluza, who I think is a really underrated Pokemon, especially with Fillet Away. So yeah, water is really good, but you don't have access to a lot of heavy hitters, and rain teams have kind of been nerfed because there's not a lot of Swift Swim Pokemon in this generation. So you're kind of limited with what you got, but the Pokemon you do have are pretty good. So that's why water isn't here. Also, you have Quaquaval. I kind of forgot about that, but you can run it. I just chose to have like a more defensive plus offensive combo. So yeah, you can run Quaquaval with this too, but I just didn't. Next up, this one's gonna be a little bit interesting because you know, it's like I don't know if people will agree with it or not. But next up we have the Ghost Monotype. Alright, now Spiritomb is here because I just wanted to get like a good defensive Pokemon. And Spiritomb's defensive stats are pretty good. But the Ghost type is really good this gen. You got access to so many assets. You get access to Fluttermane, you get access to Goldango, you get access to Annihilape, Dragapult, Skeledirge. Now the reason why it's like not number one is because obviously there isn't many great options like after these five. I mean, you can run Ceruledge, but then you have two Fire Ghost types, which I feel like is a little bit redundant. You can run Brambleghast if you want, I guess, but its stats are kind of lackluster. Gengar also works, but like, you know, you can. There's options though. It's not like you're limited. And Ghost Monotype is really good because you have like these extremely high special attackers, um, but you also have high physical attackers. Now it's not the most defensive type in the game, not by a long shot, which is why I had Spiritomb in here because it actually provided a good defensive typing. All right, number two, we're gonna have the Dragon type. The Dragon type is all really good typing in this gen, especially because you get access to a lot of different mons. Baxcalibur is a monster offensively. Cyclizar is a great support mon with Regenerator Shedtail. You get access to Dragonite, another great sweeper. You get access to Garchomp, who's a good Stealth Rocks lead. Okay, so you look at Garchomp's attack stat, and you would expect it to be used more for like actual stuff, right? Like actual attacking, right? But at this point, it's literally just a Stealth Rock's lead, Stealth Rock Spike's lead, which I think is fine because when you look at the stats of Garchomp, it's kind of like, ew, why did I do that? It's kind of like it has a really high attack stat, right? But like at the same time, like its speed and its moveset is, I feel like, is more made for being a Stealth Rock's lead because you get access to Stealth Rock spikes, and then Dragon Tail, which is like really good for that. But anyways, you have Dragapult, which is another really good option, and you have Roaring Moon. Now the problem with this gen is that there isn't really a great fairy resist. You had Duraludon before, in previous gen, but like in this gen, you don't really have much to resist fairy because there's not a Dragon Fire either. But Dragon type is still ridiculously good, and obviously you will have problems with type matchups. But you can also obviously change your Terastallization type on the Pokemon of your choice to like say Steel or something, which is really good. So some honorable mentions I'm going to talk about now. First one I want to talk about is Grass. Now, Grass is naturally not the greatest typing, but this gen gets access to really good Pokemon. All right, it gets access to Regenerator Amoonguss, obviously. Gets access to Poison Heal, Breloom. Meowscarada has Protean, which is a really good ability. You get access to Arboliva, which is another really great Pokemon with an extremely high special attack. You can run Scavillain, which is a pretty good coverage Pokemon, and you can run Toedscruel, which is a really high special defense Pokemon. So that's why I feel like Grass type isn't actually complete trash this gen. Not saying it's the greatest, but you know. Next up is Fire type. Fire type is also a really good this gen. You have access to this Scavillain, obviously, so you can, you know, have counters to your water types. You still get access to Volcarona. You can run Rotom Heat. You can run Torkoal. Chi-Yu is a great wall breaker this generation, lowering lowering your opponent's special defense to 75% of what it was. And then you have Iron Moth, which is another really great Pokemon this gen, extremely high special attack. The reason why it's not higher is because obviously one ground, like you only have like a couple ground type resists, and there's no really safe counter to water, especially because Scavillain has really low defensive stats. And my last honorable mention is going to be going to Fighting. Fighting is a really good typing this gen, in my opinion, because you have access to Annihilape, you have access to Breloom, obviously, and then you have access to a bunch of Paradox Pokemon. You have access to Great Tusk, Quaquaval, Hawlucha. You have access to so many Pokemon, and it's really good. It's just that, you know, you don't have enough resist to kind of make up for it, in my opinion. But Anyways, coming in at number 1 is actually the Dark type. This gen, the Dark type, is so good. Like, ridiculously good. You can run so many different Pokemon with it. Like, you look at Mono Dark, and you see this gen, right? Look at the number of Pokemon that are in Mono Dark, like that are Dark type, that are OU this gen. I don't think we've ever seen this kind of numbers of Dark types, and honestly, it's for a good reason because we have so many Dark types that are insanely good this gen. We have your Chien-Pao, Sword of Ruin, obviously Great Wall Breaker. Now you have Chi-Yu, Beads of Ruin, obviously Great Wall Breaker. You have Roaring Moon, Photosynthesis, Great Wall Breaker. You have, let's see, what else do you have? You have Grimmsnarl, Prankster, Light Screen User, Reflect User, really good. You have King Gambit, really defensive and offensive. So you can run both sets on it. And you have Tinglu. Tinglu is another really great Pokemon. And, best, and it's a really good tank in my opinion. It's one of the best in the game, in fact. Because not only does it lower special defense, special attack, but it also has a really high defense stat. But anyways, so yeah, Dark type is, in my opinion, the best Monotype in this gen. If you disagree, leave it down below in the comments, and thank you all for watching so much. My name is Gradients, and I'm out. Fuck you all, bye.